So I was subbing a mat class last week for a friend of mine, and I didn't really have a plan, but it's classical. You don't need to plan the life out of it in classical Pilates. And at the beginning, I did sort of this slow build warm up based on just 3 fundamentals. But it works shoulder mobility, it works hip mobility, and it also challenges you to work in asymmetrical planes. And it was a big hit, so I thought I would record it formally and share it with y'all. All you need are a pair of light weights, so 1 to 3 pounds. I'm sure I've said this before, but in classical Pilates, we really only work with 1 to 3 pounds because the goal is not like lifting heavy, it's connecting to posture. And anything over 3 pounds, you risk compromising the connection to your posture. Unless you're, like if you're like a trained weightlifter, like you know what you're doing. That's just not the point of it here. I am personally also wearing some ankle weights today. Those are super 100% not required, and I'm actually gonna turn mine a little to make these exercises be a little easier for me. I am only wearing these because at this point, when I'm recording this, I'm 3 weeks from my level 3 technique exam, and I'm working to really develop my heel to glute connection, basically, and that's what the weights are for. So that is a choice for me, absolutely not required for you. If you don't have dumbbells, wrist weights are great. So these are also 2 pounds. So if I didn't have these, I could put these on my wrists, soup cans, water bottles. We've all done our pandemic workouts at this point. If you don't know how to modify, let me know. And if you don't have any weight at all, you can still do this. The weight is just really nice. So come rolling down. Feet on the floor, knees bent, heels as close to your booty as is comfortable for you. Feet can be together or hip distance, depending on your low back situation. Wider may be more appropriate. I'm starting with my arm facing the camera. Actually, let's work symmetrically to get started. So bring both arms up toward the ceiling. Sink your shoulders against the mat. Feel your back connect to the mat. Pay attention to this connection here. This is a connection you want to maintain as you take the weights back behind you. And if you're looking at the camera, which don't look too closely, like focus on the movement, right? But I'm starting to lose my connection to the mat, so I'm going to bring my arms back to the ceiling. Take your arms overhead until you feel you're at risk for losing that connection, and then bring everything back to the ceiling. And I am not warm, so that's why I don't have a huge range right now. It's actually first thing in the morning, and I thought I'm going to bust this recording out before work. Make it happen. So that's why I'm recording it first thing in the morning. Now one arm at a time. So arms stay toward the ceiling. Really, again, readjust those shoulders if they've lost that connection, which they might have, that's okay. So 5 I'm doing my camera arm. Going as far as I can and come up. As far as I can and come up. And I'm actually deliberately not working this particular arm as far as it could go because I know this is the more mobile arm. And I know my other arm literally just won't go as far. Last one on this side. And switch arms. So now my non-camera arm is going back. And this arm in particular, I don't know why this arm is so much less mobile considering the arm I worked first is the one that had a pretty bad injury a long time ago. But since if I try to push it any farther, I'm going to be like forcing it in an unhealthy way. So instead, I just work my more mobile arm a little less to try to do my best to work them both equally. Whew, very nice. All right. Arms all the way to the mat. Go ahead, shake your hands out a bit. All right, repeating that, but now working from the floor as far back as you can. So now we're extending that angle. So you're gonna have to really pay more attention. It's gonna be a lot harder. I mean, not a lot harder. I mean, it's not gonna be harder for your body, it's gonna be harder for your brain. This is a real mental workout. So pick up your weights, reach them, make a nice rainbow, go as far back as you can, maintaining that connection to your back, and bring it down. Lift up, maintain that connection to your back, and bring it down. And you can really tune in here. Again, this is a challenge for your brain and your proprioception. That's your awareness of things in space. Some of you already know that, but I don't want to assume that anyone listening to this knows those more specialized words. But really, this gives you a chance to really feel all the ways that your pelvis and back and shoulders are shifting on the mat. I can really feel it this morning. All right, 5 singles. I'm starting on my camera arm. Reach up and over and down. Reach up and over and down. I'm recording this so early, I have not even had any coffee or tea yet. That's how motivated I was. I'm like, I want to just make it happen. And last one on this side. All right, other arm. And you might be already aware of which side is your more mobile side. And if you've never had an opportunity before, this is a great opportunity to feel where that is in your shoulders. And if you're really struggling to work symmetrically when you have an imbalance, again, that's a practice. It's taken me a long time to get to that point. All right, another brain challenge, and then we'll move on to the legs. Bring your arms back to that first exercise position, so straight toward the ceiling. We're going to do alternating, so we're going to do a total of 20. I'm going to start with my computer arm and bring it back, and then my non-computer arm and bring it back. And alternate, and switch, and keep going. Now, this further is a little more of a brain challenge, not so much a body challenge, but a brain challenge, because now I have to maintain that sense of what's my range going back and forth. This also, I mean, physically this is more of a challenge for me than it might be if I was recording this like on lunch or after work. I might as well do it while I'm fresh and motivated, and the light is just amazing. At least I think so. All right, arms all the way down. Now we do the full range alternating. So I take my camera arm up and down. And up and down. And I can feel that even my less mobile shoulder is starting to get some more range as I warm it up. And all these components, so this is the last thing in our arm sequence. And then we'll do the legs, and then we'll put it all together. So this whole thing is really, I haven't timed it, but it's gonna be, I don't know, at least 15 minutes when all is said and done, I think. But you don't even have to do all of it. You can just take it in chunks. If you're like feeling really tight after work in your shoulders, do this. I think we've got one more each side. Just do the first part. If your legs are just like, too much sitting, do the second part. All right, I'm gonna just set those off to the side a little bit. We've got arm marches. So you can't really do those asymmetrically. You can. It doesn't feel great. That's actually more challenge than doing it symmetrically. So 5 on your computer leg, or whatever leg you want really. and I lift, and I lower. And you notice, and I think I've, done these with you all before, but I'm just sort of trying to keep my foot the same shape, and I'm trying to keep my knee at the same angle, because this is really about working that, the femur, working the hip joint. 5 on the other leg. And this is, in my system, this is called knee folds. It's also called marches. I think we call them knee folds because there's also a standing exercise called marches, and I don't want it to be confusing. So many Pilates exercises have the same names as other exercises. It's kind of funny. All right, since we're not really doing this symmetrically, like both legs at the same time, let's go straight into alternating right now. So I lift my computer leg and down, and my non-computer leg and down. This is a good place to check in. I know that I also have less symmetry in my left hip. It's not as pronounced though. I don't feel like I have to adjust the range of motion in my right hip nearly as much. All right, last set. And lift, and down, and lift, and down. All right, leg slides. I might just get back a little bit. These are gonna be kind of extra challenging for me because I have the weights, but again, I'm working something specific here. So, if you do happen to use weights, try to make it so there's like a flat portion at your ankles or at your heel, like at your Achilles. That will make life happier for you. Really press your hands into the mat. This is another one where you could do it symmetrically. I don't know why you would. So I flex my foot at the ankle, press it straight, and drag it back in. Really press the heel to move it, press the heel to pull it in. So again, you can see why I wanted to keep going. You can see why I wanted to leave some space at my heel so I could actually get my leg all the way to the floor so I could get my knee completely straight. That's something I also struggle with. But the weights actually really do help with being able to get my knee straight. 5 on the other leg. And you can hear, well, hopefully you can, you might not be able to, but you can probably hear my heel scraping along the mat. I really want to hear that sound because that lets me know my heel is connected. That is an important part of this exercise. All right, alternating, 20 total. So we'll have 10 on each leg. And switch. And switch. And switch. Reach it long. And the alternating really gives me a good chance to really feel into the asymmetry. I can really feel how the front of my left hip does not want to open. And I had always thought that my hip issues were actually sort of related to spraining my left ankle twice. It's not a debilitating issue, it's just something I noticed. But then I'm like, why is my hip so much less mobile and my shoulder so much less mobile? You might not know the answer. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. Last one. All right, now we're gonna start putting our arms and legs together. And if you're wondering why I did symmetrical arm stuff, even though we don't really have symmetrical versions of the legs, it was to warm the shoulders up, really. I always, for me, I feel like the shoulders often need a little more TLC to get going than the legs do. So I went and just added some extra arm stuff in there to get them really feeling juicy. All right, We're going to be all asymmetrical from here on out, just in different ways. So, starting with hands to the ceiling. You're going to, so we're combining the marches, aka the knee folds, with the arms, this sort of half arm back position. I want to sink my shoulder. I feel I lost my connection. I've got my camera hand towards the ceiling. I've got my camera leg ready to go. Lift them up and bring them back. Lift them up, foot touches the floor, knuckles to the ceiling. And now here, I can really feel, even though this is a pretty mobile side for me, having to do the same leg and the same arm has changed the range I am able to do. Lower that arm down, other arm, knuckles to the ceiling, get that leg ready to move, and do 5. Lift the foot, take the arm as far overhead as you can. And yeah, I can feel that restriction is on this side as well, in a slightly different way though. It's very interesting. Bodies are so simple and yet so complex at the same time. All right, bring that first hand up, but now so I've got my computer hand up, but now my non-computer leg is gonna work again. So now I'm working opposite arm, opposite leg. Lift up and down. Lift up and down. Keep going. And the thing I notice here is, even though this is technically a more complex configuration, the range of motion is, I have a more range of motion here. And that's just for me personally. Switch. So I've got my non-computer hand to the ceiling, my computer leg is ready to go, and I lift and lower and lift and lower. And if you're like, well, this one is way more challenging for me than the first one, what am I doing wrong? You're probably not doing anything wrong. It's probably just your body and the way your body is right now. Maybe if I did this at lunch, it would feel totally different. All right. Both arms to the ceiling. Alternating, same arm and leg, same arm and leg. So I've got my computer arm and leg, and they lift and return, and then my other arm and leg lift and return. And switch, and switch. The one thing I've learned for sure is that just because something might technically be like more advanced in a general sense, that doesn't mean it's harder for all people. There are some super advanced variations of certain exercises that are actually easier for me as an individual than the less advanced exercises. Do one more each side. And that is just because of, the specific tightnesses and strengths and weaknesses of my body. All right, you know what's coming next. You can lower those arms for a second. Give them a little rest. Even with light weights, like holding things out for a long time, it gets to be a lot. So now we do opposite arm, opposite leg alternating. So my computer arm and my non-computer leg, they lift and return. My non-computer arm, my computer leg, they lift and return. And switch. And switch. And if you're like maybe doing this first thing in the morning like I am, and you're like, this is too complicated, go back and do the other side. Come back and try this later. It's fine. Yeah, just because something is technically more advanced does not inherently mean it's harder for everyone. I've got some specific injuries, some specific mobility challenges, and some of these, ostensibly more advanced exercises are just configured, arranged in such a way that my body responds to them really well. And So don't worry if something seems like easy and it's really, like there are still some beginner exercises that I'm still struggling with. So, you know, all bodies are different, and what's easy for me may not be easy for you, and that's fine. All right, lower that down, shake those out. Ooh, that feels really good. I woke up and I just did not want to do a full, it's my mat workout day, and I was like, oh God, I do not want to just like do a mat first thing in the morning, so that's why I'm recording this. All right, so now I bet you can imagine our next phase is to combine the bigger arm range with the leg slides. So again, we're going to start 1-to-1, computer arm, computer leg. Reach that heel out, reach the arm as far as you can overhead and bring it back. And really the challenge here is to try to have the heel and the hand reach their endpoints at the same time. Yeah, it's challenging. It is, if you've never done it before, it's challenging if you have done it before. But if you've really never done it before, the trick is to slow down and really learn to you have to sort of learn to feel it out, honestly. All right, other side, non-computer side. Reaching out and reaching in. And reaching out. And reaching in. Oh my goodness, that just feels lovely. And definitely there are, certain advanced exercises that you should not throw. I do not believe that you should throw them at beginners. Some people might disagree with me, but I feel strongly about that. But there are some that, there's some advanced Cadillac things that I've been giving to some of my beginner students, because even though they're advanced, the movements are simple, and these particular students are really strong in certain areas. They can already take that challenge. All right. Opposite arm, opposite leg. So I've got computer arm, non-computer leg. Reaching out and drawing together. This variation, oh man, do I feel how challenging it is to keep the pelvis stable. Obviously, the pelvis is not going to be fully stable when you're working asymmetrically. That's not really how mechanics works. But you really want to try to keep it as stable as possible, and that has worked for me here. Man. Switch. Non-computer arm, computer leg. Reaching out. Oh yeah, that feels nice. And once again, I am really feeling this is a super repetitive sequence. I was actually I was very worried that the class I was subbing in was going to think it was boring, and they loved it. And I think there is something about just working repetitively, like a theme and variation sort of thing, that it's kind of nice for your brain. It's challenging, but it's also something familiar to come back to. All right, this is going to be the most challenging part. So we alternate 5. No, we just did that. Sorry. No coffee yet, remember? All right, so now we do the big alternations. So computer arm, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. No coffee. So now we alternate same sides. So my computer arm and computer leg reach and come back. Non-computer arm and leg reach and come back. And switch. And switch. I keep alternating saying computer arm or camera arm because I used to, when I was doing back when I was more teaching online, I would just record straight from my laptop, but now I've been recording a lot on my iPad. I think I like that more. Anyway, so I say camera because the iPad is kind of a computer, but it's also kind of not a computer. One more each side. It just feels so nice. All right, there we go. Brain fart over. Now we do alternating of the opposite sides. This is our last move. So I got my computer arm, my non-computer leg. They reach out, they reach in. Non-computer arm, computer leg, reach out, reach in. And switch. And switch. And again, this is, I think, switch. And switch. Since this is so simple, it's going to be really easy for you to learn the patterns, I think. And so once you know the pattern, again, you can just take this, do part of it, do the whole thing, modify it, make it your own. If you can do the whole thing, it can be nice to just sort of see how you're, like my range has so much improved over the last few minutes. One more each side. So that can be fun. Last one. All right, there we are. So, that was like 25 minutes. 25 minutes of like the same thing over and over, but I feel great in my body. I got a little brain challenge, and again, you can just like take this in segments, and that's what I really like about it. So thanks for practicing.